September. Reggie Squirrel. Autumn had arrived, and it was Reggie Squirrel's 7th birthday. Reggie woke up early and set off excitedly to visit the stag beetle. He knocked loudly on Stanley's door, but no one answered. Berry and Balthazar's houses were empty too.
No one's at home. Who can I celebrate my birthday with?
He sobbed to himself.
Hi there, happy birthday,
shouted Harry Hedgehog. Your friends told me to take you for a ride while they prepare your present.
So that's why no one's at home,
Reggie said, smiling again. He sat in the hedgehog cart and they set off. In the meantime, the centipede busily raked the leaves up and the woodworms wriggled about in them.
That's enough of that. I need to clear the leaves from the path,
the centipede said.
You could pick the litter up because we should look after nature. Okay, we'll help,
the woodworms whistled. Then they saw Harry Hedgehog and Reggie Squirrel, and they waved at the birthday boy when the hedgehog cart passed them. It was the afternoon by the time they got back to Reggie Squirrel's home.
Happy birthday!
All the forest friends shouted with glee. Reggie Squirrel saw that the pals had bandaged the oak tree.
You've made my tree better, Reggie said with a tear in his eye. Hooray for Reggie Squirrel!
Shouted a band of squeaky little voices, and the fireflies appeared high up above.
We've made you 7 lanterns for your 7th birthday. They're beautiful,
said Reggie, clapping his paws together. At that point, Berry and Dolly handed the hazelnut cake they had made to Reggie. And while they were eating, Zephyr made an announcement.
A 7th birthday is an important thing because 7 is a special number. There are 7 colours in the rainbow. A dragon has 7 heads, and there are 7 days in a week. There are 7 dwarfs in the story about Snow White, and there are 7 notes on a musical scale. You still haven't seen your main present, said the little flower beetle as he hopped around. Have you found the hot air balloon? Reggie asked with a surprised smile. We found it and fixed it, said a proud Berry. Come on, we'll take you for a flight. Hooray! Reggie Squirrel cried, and he hopped happily into the balloon's basket. They flew high above the tiny houses and had a super view of the forest from the sky. Then the stars appeared, and Reggie stared in delight at the twinkling night sky. It's been a busy day, hasn't it? Asked Dolly. Yes, it's been a busy and brilliant birthday, Reggie Squirrel agreed with a grin. Good night, the little friends shouted, and the squirrel climbed sleepily back into his house, cuddled up in his little bed, and soon fell fast asleep.
The Robot. One autumn morning, Frank the longhorn beetle visited his old friend Stanley. The stag beetle was really pleased to see his faraway friend. "I've brought you something," Frank said secretively, and put a little box into Stanley's hand. The stag beetle opened the package with excitement. It was a silver-coloured robot. I built it for you. It can walk, make funny noises, and has flashing lights. Stanley was delighted with the present. Thank you, Frank. I'll take special care of it. The longhorn beetle stayed with the stag beetle for 3 days. They talked a lot, played football, ate nice food, and went for long walks together. At the end of the 3rd day, Frank said goodbye to Stanley and went on his way. The stag beetle suddenly felt lonely. But he wasn't alone for long because Berry the snail boy soon knocked on the door. Hi, Stanley. Do you want to play button football? Of course. We can go in a minute, but let me show you something first, Stanley said. Then he stood on a chair and took the robot down from a bookshelf. But the chair wobbled underneath him and the little figure slipped out of his hand and fell into a million pieces. Oh, my robot! My robot's broken, Stanley cried. Let's try and put it back together again, Berry suggested. OK. Stanley sulked. The 2 boys struggled for a long time, but there was no way they could put all the pieces back together again. Let's call Eddie. He can fix anything, Berry suggested, and the 2 friends hurried off. They even forgot to close the door. They soon arrived at Eddie's house. Hi, Eddie. Please help. Frank gave me a robot, but I dropped it and it fell to pieces. I'm sure you can put it together again, the stag beetle pleaded. I'm sorry, but I'm too busy at the minute. I promised Leapy that I would mend her bicycle. But I'll go over to your house and help tomorrow, OK? The potato beetle said. Only tomorrow? OK then, come over tomorrow, the stag beetle snivelled. Berry and Stanley said a sad goodbye to the potato beetle and set off home again. While they were away, Berry the baby beetle was walking past Stanley's house. He was surprised to see the door wide open and walked in. He noticed the broken robot on the floor, and so he sat down and started to patiently put it all back together again. The stag beetle stepped sadly back into his house. But when he saw the robot, his bad mood evaporated. The robot was walking again, beeping and flashing its lights as if nothing had happened. Hi, Bubble. How did you end up here? And what happened to my broken robot? I was walking past and came in because the door was open. I saw the pieces of the robot on the floor and fixed it, the baby beetle answered proudly. Stanley was so delighted that he picked Bubble up and threw him into the air 3 times. Hooray! You're very clever, Bubble. Thank you. The next day, Stanley invited Dolly over to show her the robot. Soon, Eddie appeared as he had promised. But he did not need to fix it because now it was better than new. Stanley didn't put the robot back on the shelf after that, so it couldn't fall off again. Instead, he placed it carefully on a little cupboard next to his bed. The Mushroom's Cap. Berry, Dolly, Balthazar, Flutter, Stanley and Bubble all set off for a long walk in the woods. They were strolling happily along when they heard someone crying. It's coming from behind that bush, Berry whispered to the others. They saw a little mushroom crying and he looked odd because he didn't have a cap. Who took your cap? Dolly asked in her kindest voice. I don't know. It was missing when I woke up this morning. Don't worry, we'll help you. We'll find you another cap,
Berry reassured the miserable mushroom. The friends all ran back to their houses and returned carrying all kinds of different caps and hats. "We've brought some new hats to try," they said, and tried them all on the mushroom's head in turn. Dolly put her dotted hat on him first, but it didn't seem to suit the mushroom at all. Then Flutter put her witch's hat on his head.
"But I don't want to be a nasty witch,"
the mushroom grumbled. Then Bubble produced a yellow baseball cap, but it was too small. Berry was next to try. "I've brought 2 hats. This is my gardening hat, and this is my devil's hat." The gardening hat looked funny on the mushroom's head, but he wasn't happy.
"I don't like this one,"
he said in a sullen voice. The devil's hat made him even angrier.
"I'm not a little devil, you know,"
he shouted with a red face. But he got most upset when Balthazar showed him the red saucepan.
"But this is a saucepan. I can't go around with a silly saucepan."
"It's not a normal saucepan,"
Balthazar replied sharply.
"It's our snowman's hat."
The last one to try was Stanley the stag beetle, who had brought a top hat for the mushroom.
"Oh, I quite like the look of this one,"
the mushroom enthused.
"But can't you find my old cap? That's the one I want to wear the most."
So the forest friends started to search for the mushroom's spotty cap. 3 canary chicks suddenly flew by.
"We know where the mushroom's cap is. We saw 3 woodworms using it for a rowing boat."
"Everyone down to the stream!" Dolly shouted. And sure enough, 3 woodworms were singing and rowing along in the mushroom's cap.
"Give the mushroom his cap back,"
Berry shouted.
"But we promised to go visit our friends the fleas. We need a boat to get to their house."
"But that's a cap, not a boat, and it belongs to the mushroom. Give it back to him," Berry argued. The woodworms eventually gave in and gave the cap back.
"But how will we go and see the fleas now?"
they asked sadly.
"We can take you. We're flying to the little island,"
the 3 canary chicks twittered.
"Hooray! We're going to fly!"
The woodworms shouted and jumped for joy. "But we have to take the mushroom his cap back first."
"You mean the boat?"
The naughty woodworms chuckled, but Dolly gave them one of her serious looks and they stopped laughing.
"Thank you so much,"
the mushroom said with a big smile as he put it on his head.
"It fits just perfectly."
The woodworms hopped onto the canaries' backs.
"Have a safe trip,"
the mushroom shouted. "Enjoy the flight," the others added. The forest friends all said a final goodbye to the mushroom and walked home with their hats on their heads. Stanley Skates. It was a crispy winter day and Berry and Dolly were walking by the lake. It had frozen over and was covered by a very thick layer of ice.
"Come on, Dolly, let's slide on the ice,"
the little snail suggested. The ladybird happily agreed. Berry and Dolly stepped cautiously onto the ice. They held on tightly to each other and began to slide slowly around. They were really having a wonderful time. They soon warmed up. They fell over every now and then, but when they did, they just laughed and carried on playing. Stanley the stag beetle stood and watched them.
"Stanley, you have to try this. Come and slide with us. It's so much fun,"
Berry said to his friend. Stanley was slightly scared but stepped onto the ice out of curiosity.
"Ah!"
he yelled as his feet slipped out from under him and he fell on his bottom. Berry and Dolly ran over to him. "We'll give you a hand, Stanley." The two friends stood either side of Stanley and guided him slowly forward. "Now we'll let go of you and you can try by yourself," Dolly told him. Then the snail and the ladybird let Stanley go. "Slow down, Stanley!" Dolly shouted, and Stanley tried to stop, but he stumbled and sped into a patch of prickly bushes. "Help! I'm full of prickles and my antler hurts. It hurts a lot." Dolly ran over quickly to take a look at the injured stag beetle. "Don't give up," Dolly said, and bandaged Stanley's painful antler with her dotty scarf. Just then, a beautiful girl beetle slid out onto the ice. She moved over the frozen surface of the water as gracefully as can be. "Wow, who are you?" Dolly asked. "I'm Iris the ice beetle." "Hi, Iris. She's Dolly the ladybird, he's Stanley the stag beetle, and I'm Berry the snail," Berry said in his politest voice. "How do you manage to glide on the ice like that?" Stanley asked the stranger. "Because I'm wearing ice skates, special shoes that can slide on the ice," Iris replied. "You have to buckle them to your boots." "Did you make them yourself?" Berry asked curiously. "Yes, I made them. It's really not that difficult. I can make ice skates for all of you if you like." "Hooray!" the three friends shouted excitedly. Berry, Dolly, Stanley and Iris went to the forest together. Iris sorted through the branches lying on the ground and eventually found one good for the job. They all got to work, sawing and hammering in tiny nails. Everybody did their share. "They're finished," Iris eventually announced, and there were 3 pairs of brand new ice skates sitting on the table. Berry and Dolly felt a little bit nervous as they fastened their new ice skates on, but Stanley was the most worried. Berry and Dolly held onto each other and stepped out onto the ice. Iris helped Stanley. "Sliding on the ice is so much better with ice skates," Stanley laughed. Iris held Stanley's hand for a long time before he was happy to slide all on his own. He soon learned how to turn and start and stop. "I can do it! I can ice skate!" he announced at the end of a very long but happy day. Friends. It was a super sunny day and Dolly the ladybird sat staring out of the window. "I'm going to eat breakfast," she thought, "and then I'll go for a walk in the meadow." She decided to take her wheelbarrow with her. "I wonder if I'll find something interesting to take home in my wheelbarrow," she thought to herself. "Goodness me," said Dolly. "What a lovely red cherry. That's just perfect for my lunch." She tried to lift the cherry into her wheelbarrow, but it was far too heavy. Too heavy for one little ladybird. Just then, Berry the snail appeared. "Why the sad face, ladybird?" asked Berry. "I can't lift this cherry into my wheelbarrow," Dolly replied. "Don't cry, I'll help you," Berry said with a smile, and the two of them picked the cherry up with no trouble at all. Dolly set straight off home with the juicy cherry. Now it was Berry who looked sad. Don't you want to share the cherry with me? The snail said, and stamped his little foot. I did help you. But I found it first, Dolly snapped. You're not having any, it's mine. Berry was very upset. The two of them started to fight over the cherry. It's mine, shouted Dolly. That's not fair, Berry shouted back. They pushed and pulled the cherry until it split clean in two. Berry and Dolly plopped to the ground. They were very surprised when a green grub crawled out of the cherry.
What have you done to my cherry?
He grumbled.
That cherry was my home. Oh, don't look so upset,
the grub said.
I know where we can find plenty more. You can eat cherries while I find a new home for myself.
Dolly helped the grub into her wheelbarrow, and they all set off to look for the cherry tree. When they arrived, they found the ground around the cherry tree was covered in ripe red fruit. Berry and Dolly jumped for joy. The grub fell fast asleep while Berry and Dolly munched away on fresh cherries, and the time soon flew by. It was getting late, so they decided to go home, but this time with 2 cherries, one for Dolly and one for Berry. The sun was setting by the time they reached Berry's house. They took his cherry out of the wheelbarrow and said goodbye. Berry went inside and waved to Dolly from the window. Berry soon fell fast asleep after such an exciting day. The little snail dreamt about playing in cherries with Dolly and eating until their tummies were full. Then Dolly got back home and went straight to bed. From that day on, Berry and Dolly were the best of friends.